Good morning from Perth, everyone. A very warm welcome. Thanks very much for joining us, particularly at relatively short notice. My name is Nicholas Reid from Reid Corporate, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you today on behalf of Red 5 Limited to this investor and media webinar. Today is, of course, a very significant and exciting day for Red 5, with the release this morning of the final feasibility study for the company's King of the Hills gold project in Western Australia. The completion of this feasibility study marks the culmination of many months of hard work and paves the way for the development of Australia's next major gold mine, underpinned by a 2.4 million ounce ore reserve, also unveiled today. Red 5's Managing Director, Mark Williams, will shortly join me to run through the details of the final feasibility study and the next steps for this major new Australian gold project. Mark is joined on this webinar by Red 5's Chief Corporate Development Officer, Patrick Duffy, who is also available to take your questions. Before we begin, I'd like to refer you to the ASX announcement on the final feasibility study and the associated final feasibility study presentation, both of which were lodged on the ASX platform this morning. If you would like to ask a question following Mark's presentation, please click the question tab on the panel at the side of your screen, and I will put the questions to Mark and Patrick to answer immediately following the completion of his presentation. Without any further ado, I'd now like to hand the webinar over to Mark. Mark, congratulations on this fantastic milestone. If I could ask you to please take us through the presentation and tell us about where King of the Hills is at and where it's going to. Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for that kind introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your interest in the key outcomes of Red 5's final feasibility study at King of the Hills, which I'm pleased to say is a very positive and includes seeing the project with a reserve of 2.4 million ounces, placing it as a top 10 largest endowed gold mine in Australia. And secondly, it provides Red 5 a clear pathway forward to become a multi-operational mid-tier gold producer by 2022. Red 5 has two gold mines in one of the world's safest and most prospective gold districts, being the Eastern Goldfields of Western Australia. And it's needless to say that Red 5 see that we have an outstanding growth opportunity. And we also have an experienced management team with strong project development skills to be able to seize and deliver on this opportunity. In our view, the feasibility study has really underscored King of the Hills to be Australia's next major gold mine. Some of the key study highlights, including a 16-year life, target first production in June 2022. We've really focused on maximising ore production and gold production in the first 6 years. The first 4 years being a combination of open pit and underground, which peaks the production of over 200,000 ounces for the 1 year. The first 6 years production being 176,000 ounces with a all-in sustaining cost of $1,339 per ounce. At an assumed gold price of $2,500 per ounce, the capital payback is just over 2 years, and we have a very strong NPV and IRR metrics. Now the feasibility study is behind us. We will focus on commencing site activities, which we'll target next month. That's the earthworks, the construction of the accommodation and central processing and central accommodation facilities. We will complete the project financing and permitting. In the coming weeks, we will appoint the EPC contractor and also tender the large open pit and mining service contracts. After all that is complete, we will then make a final decision towards the end of this year or early 2021. With the capital raise behind us, that was complete earlier this year, we were in a strong position financially. And with that money, we see that we're able also to seize this opportunity. With that capital raise, that saw a number of very strong institutional investors being able to join our share register and join what was already a blue chip set of shareholders. King of the Hills is a brownfield site. It's been mined progressively as an open pit and underground for over 30 years. It's produced over 2 million ounces. Because of all that, the geology is well understood. It's really quite a unique ore body. It's a large granodiorite intrusion that's 4 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide. The ore body remains open at depth and open along strike. And we are confident that with additional drilling, we are able to expand the underground resources and reserves that we have currently estimated in the feasibility study. The metallurgy, the same as the processing, is well understood. We have some 15 years of historical processing data, some 15 years of monthly reports that explain the metallurgy. We've done significant test work in the pre-feasibility and final feasibility study. And of course, we've been processing the ore at the Darlow processing plant for the last 2.5 years. So the technology is the standard CIL technology. We have upscaled the crusher and the mill to be able to be right-sized for the ore body. With the crusher, we're looking at a 6 million tonne per annum front end. That's a gyrated crusher all the way down through the crushing process. The mill is a 4 million tonne per annum SAG mill. However, it is oversized and we see upside potential. The grind is a coarse grind at 150 microns. The recovery is strong at over 92%. We're close to the gas pipeline within the goldfields, and we'll be taking advantage of that. We're building a 25 megawatt gas-fired power station. With all of those together, we're able to generate a low processing cost of sub $12 per tonne. With the mining plan, we've really played to the strengths of the project. We've been able to overlap the open pit and the underground in a bulk environment. We've looked to minimize the pre-strip capital costs to only $7 million for the first 3 months. We have utilized the low-grade stockpiles that are already existing of some 1.6 million tonnes, and we've also looking to start up and utilize the satellite of Rainbow open pit. We've focused the main open pit at King of the Hills is targeted in the southern portion of the ore body, which means that we have the minimized strip ratio, and we also avoid any interruption with the underground portal until the financial year 27. It defers any of the cutbacks that are required in the northwest and the northeast of the open pits into financial year 2032. The mining strategy for both the open pit and underground will be a contractor strategy. These contracts will be long life and they'll be worth many hundreds of millions of dollars. We'll be going through that tender process over the coming months, and we have potential to be able to see opportunities for cost savings compared to the assumptions that we've made. Red 5 will operate the mill because we're experienced mill operators, and as we said, we're experienced at processing the ore. It was important to us to keep the cost estimate to a manageable amount, and I'm very pleased with our strong feasibility study manager and also our construction manager, who was appointed in March of this year. That the two of them have worked very closely to be able to minimise that the capital cost estimate, and they've actually brought this into line with the pre-feasibility study, which I think is a tremendous effort, and that includes a gyratory crusher and also the upsizing of the front end of the process plant. We've added an additional amount for owner's cost and contingency, and so the subtotal is $219 million with the $7 million of pre-strip, giving us the capital cost estimate of $226 million. We have tendered the EPC contract. We've shortlisted 4 contractors, all highly professional companies that you would expect, and in the coming weeks that will come to a conclusion and we'll be able to appoint a contractor. Given the strong economics and our high conviction on the project, it's worth noting that over $25 million of contracts have either been awarded to date or items purchased, and this includes the camp, the central facilities, the crusher and the mill. So we're well underway. The timetable to deliver first gold in the June quarter 2022. After the completion of the feasibility study, we've touched on the early site works, which will start in the next 2 weeks, which will see the camp and the central facilities being completed in the month of January and February next year. The completion of stage 2 permits, which are well underway, and also that's well underway is the debt financing. After these have been completed, we'll make the final investment decision, which will see the EPC contractor mobilised and a full 12 months worth of construction. The mill and the crusher, as I've said, have already been placed and are scheduled to be delivered during the June quarter next year. The open pit mine contractor will need to mobilise towards the end of calendar year 21 and the beginning of 22, which will overlap with the commissioning in the March quarter of 2022 and generate the first gold in the June quarter of 22. All of this leads to strong, sustainable cash flow. At an assumed $2,500 gold price, you can see the strong cash flows, particularly in the first 7 and 8 years. We have a strong payback of just over 2 years, strong investment internal rate of return, and also cash flow of 1.5 billion estimated over the life of the project at that assumed gold price. This puts us in a good position and on the front foot when we're talking to the financial institutions, together with the cash that we have in the bank. We're looking to secure $165 million worth of target finance. The feedback that we have from the financial institutions is that the project is very attractive, as we've talked about being a brownfield site, the strong project economics, the long reserve tail, and of course the number 1 mining jurisdiction of being in Western Australia. A couple of value proposition slides to finish up. This is where Red 5 is today, and this is where we see Red 5 being in the future. So for those people who are looking for long life and low cost, King of the Hills project delivers on that. Compared to our peers, we can see where we're at with regards to EV over reserve. We certainly have, in our view, a very strong value proposition there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your interest this morning. I hope you're as excited as I am. We believe that the feasibility study now underscores that King of the Hills is Australia's next major gold mine and gives Red 5 a clear pathway to becoming a multi-operational mid-tier gold producer by 2022. Thank you.
Study, we appreciate that. If I could also invite Patrick Duffy, Red 5's Chief Corporate Development Officer, to join us now. Thanks, Patrick. Welcome. We've had quite a few questions come in, so I'll whip through them as quickly as I can. Firstly, can you tell us, Mark and Patrick, or perhaps this is one for you, Mark, can you tell us how many jobs will be created by the King of the Hills development? How many people are expected to be employed during construction and operations, and how does that compare to the existing operation?
Sure, thanks, Nicholas. And you know, this is the really exciting part. You know, it will tangibly, positively impact the lives of many people here in Western Australia. We're looking at an estimated jobs creation of 450 people during the construction, and during steady state mining in the order of 300 Red 5 employees and contractors. So at the moment we're employing about 125 people, Red 5 and contractors. So we see that number will grow significantly to 300 or during the steady state mining period.
Great, thank you, Mark. And another question from the same gentleman: will mining come to a complete standstill at King of the Hills while development forges ahead? And if so, when will mining stop?
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. As we have announced previously, we're looking to ramp down the activities of King of the Hills from a mining point of view towards the end of this calendar year, and that is largely for a couple of reasons. One, to preserve the tonnes and grade for the standalone mill that we have just talked about. It also enables Red 5 to go through a transitional process to be able to separate, from a production point of view, King of the Hills and the Darlow mine. Mining activities is scheduled to restart with the open pit pre-strip in January 2022 for 3 months, and then continue as steady state mining operations, and the underground is scheduled to restart on the 1st of April 2022.
Excellent, thanks, Mark. A number of questions have come through on the question panel, so I'll work through those quickly now. Firstly, an investor has asked if you could please comment on the sensitivities of returns and capital payback around gold price movements, for example, say at $2,200 and $3,000 an ounce.
Sure. Would you like to take that one, Patrick? I think there's a tornado chart in the ASX release today.
Yeah, and in the presentation, there is a sensitivity table. So I think it's roughly 12-page slide 15 in the ASX released presentation. But at $3,000, the pre-tax internal rate of return is 88%. And at $2,250 per ounce Aussie dollars, internal rate of return pre-tax is 51%. So there's a number of price scenarios provided in both the ASX announcement and also the presentation that you can refer to.
Great, thanks, Patrick. The next question is, how soon can you outline the plan to deliver the 6 million tonne per annum rate, and what gold production and cost would that achieve?
Sure. So the 6 million tonne is an opportunity for us in the future. Now the feasibility study has been completed. We will be building up our owners team for the open pit operations, and they will be looking at enhancing and fine-tuning the open pit mining schedule. And as a consequence of that, there's a potential to look at the expansion to 6 million tonnes, which again we think is we've designed to be relatively straightforward, low cost, and with minimum interruption during the processing of activities. It's worth noting what's important to us is to be able to generate strong cash flows in the first year, and in the first years in particular, and to be able to pay the debt off as quickly as possible. So that's a key focus for us, and we'll be able to navigate that together with any possible upside and increase in mill throughput.
Great, thanks, Mark. Speaking of debt, another investor has asked if you could possibly give us any more colour around the financing process, the debt financing process. Any sort of colour around whether it's banks, non-banks, or any of the major top 6 Australian banks, just any sort of commentary along that funding process?
Yeah, so the debt process we've been preparing now since the beginning of the year, and with the publishing of the feasibility study, we'll now launch into the competitive process. But we do have currently 12 lenders that have been shortlisted and have access to the data room files. They include all the major Australian banks and all sort of brand name international lenders that people would be familiar with. And we believe the project's fully funded at that, depending on that final debt figure, but looking to have that in place by the end of this year.
Thanks, Patrick. Another investor has asked whether any of the contracts led to date fixed price and in line with the feasibility study?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. What we've announced in the ASX release is the contracts and equipment purchased to date. We've seen a cost saving of $6 million compared to the estimated capital items. So that means that we've started off strongly, which is exactly what we wanted to do, and we will look to continue to do that. The main contract that's likely to be fixed contract, fixed term, is the EPC contract. That's the tendering for that is underway, and that's by far the most significant contract during this construction period. And we are investigating opportunities for that to be fixed priced. But that's yet to be worked through over the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Couple more. We'll just try and get through these quickly. An investor has asked, given institutions had the opportunity to participate in the milestone capital raise earlier this year, is there any thought being given to participation by existing shareholders as part of the project funding through an SPP or entitlement offer?
At the moment, we're looking for the debt facility that we've touched on of $165 million.
Okay. And another investor has said, will the company be investing in significant marketing activities to build awareness of the stock to new investors? So perhaps you could touch on the program over the next couple of weeks alone is pretty huge, I believe. Mark and Patrick, you're off to Den to the Precious Metals Forum starting tonight, I think.
That's right. I think we've got 13 hours of marketing today, and Beaver Creek and Demna conferences over the next 2 weeks, as well as a series of marketing across these next 3 weeks, both in Australia and internationally. We are obviously restricted in travel movements, so the conferences are constrained at the moment, but we certainly will be at Diggers next month.
Fantastic. And then just one final question. This is a fairly broad question. Investors often like to know how much ownership directors and management have in the company. how much skin in the game there is. Are you able to provide a comment on that in relation to Red 5?
Yeah, so management and directors have somewhere between 1 to 2% of the company.
Fantastic. That's all the questions that we've received this morning. So I know you have a very busy day of calls and meetings. So thanks very much, both Mark and Patrick, for your time this morning and for presenting to investors as part of this webinar. We appreciate that very focused and concise presentation, and I'm sure that if anyone has additional questions, they're welcome to contact either Mark Williams or Patrick Duffy from Red 5. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention this morning, again at short notice, and we hope that you enjoyed that update from Red 5 and look forward to keeping you informed of developments over the coming weeks. Thanks very much and have a good day. Thank you, Mark and Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Nicholas.